This morning, a new discovery inside the Great Pyramid of Giza.
This discovery, in my opinion, is the most important discovery on the 21st century.
The Great Pyramid is literally impossible. It's something that doesn't make any sense. It certainly doesn't make sense.
For centuries, this colossal structure has been the subject of countless theories, debates, and speculations. Yet, amidst the myriad of mysteries surrounding its construction, purpose, and significance, there lies a paradox waiting to be untangled, a riddle that seems to defy logic and reason. But perhaps, the most astonishing revelation of all is the unexpected solution to an equally age-long phenomenon that has just emerged from the Great Pyramid. What exactly is this paradox that the Great Pyramid has now provided a shocking answer to? And just how did the archaeologists who uncovered this riddle do it? Join us on this journey of discovery as we uncover how the Great Pyramid just solved an ancient paradox that has plagued the world for centuries. The ancient Egyptian burial secrets. Ensuring the security of their tombs was a major concern for the ancient Egyptians, especially as they began including valuable items in their burials. This created a risk of the deceased being disturbed, prompting wealthy Egyptians to carefully consider the advantages and disadvantages of burying precious belongings with them. In the early dynastic period, there was a system in place to protect these valuables, where material goods were stored in outer compartments of the mastabas, an early form of tomb. The body of the deceased, however, received greater protection underground and at the center of the structure. Interestingly, this reflects the ancient Egyptian belief in the afterlife, where the body needed to be preserved for the soul to continue its journey. However, despite these precautions, the outer storage areas proved to be vulnerable to theft over time. As a result, architects and tomb builders adapted their designs. Eventually, Egyptians opted to keep fewer valuable items closer to the deceased's body to minimize the risk of plundering. This shift in burial practices not only reflects concerns about security, but also highlights the evolving religious beliefs and societal norms of ancient Egyptian culture. Furthermore, the construction of the pyramids themselves speaks volumes about the importance of preserving wealth and status in the afterlife. These monumental structures were not just tombs, but also symbols of power and eternity. The pharaohs and nobility spared no expense in ensuring their eternal legacy, employing thousands of laborers and craftsmen to build these marvels of engineering. So, the psychology of self-preservation and the desire for security and status were integral aspects of ancient Egyptian culture. By examining their burial practices and architectural achievements, we gain valuable insights into the priorities and values of this fascinating civilization. Egyptologist Reg Clark, renowned for his keen observations, meticulously documented a fascinating evolution in ancient Egyptian burial practices. As he delved into the architectural marvels of Saqqara, he couldn't help but notice a profound change unfolding. Among the towering structures of the cemetery, Clark discerned a notable increase in the allocation of space for religious purposes. This transformation hinted at a deeper shift in the very essence of these structures. No longer were they solely repositories for the deceased's earthly possessions. Instead, they began to take on a dual role, serving not only as secure storehouses for grave goods, but also as sacred chapels for the reception of offerings. Such insights propel us into the heart of the mystery surrounding the Great Pyramid of Giza, compelling us to unravel the enigmatic decisions that led to its creation. What drove the ancient Egyptians to embark on such a monumental endeavor? What beliefs and aspirations guided their hands as they raised one of the most enduring wonders of the world? In our quest for understanding, it's natural to seek guidance from historical texts. Yet as we navigate the labyrinth of ancient scriptures, we must remember the wisdom of interpreting actions over words. For buried beneath the sands of time lie not only tales of religious devotion, but also tangible remnants of human behavior. Indeed, one cannot help but marvel at the wealth of artifacts unearthed from the storerooms of Old Kingdom mastabas. Among the sands of Saqqara, archaeologists have unearthed vast stocks of jars and vessels, each bearing witness to the intricate rituals and offerings that once adorned these sacred spaces. In the dimly lit corridors of history, these artifacts speak volumes about the values and beliefs that animated ancient Egyptian society. They offer a tangible link to the past, allowing us to glimpse the inner workings of a civilization shrouded in myth and mystery. And it is through their silent testimony that we inch closer to unlocking the secrets of the Great Pyramid and the people who built it. And while ancient Egyptian burial rites might appear alien, the mysteries surrounding Egyptian beliefs in the afterlife are even more shocking. The shocking mysteries of Egyptian afterlife. Many have always been struck by the vast quantities of jars and vessels discovered in the storerooms of Old Kingdom mastabas. These findings hint at the importance placed on material possessions and offerings in ancient Egyptian culture, shedding light on their beliefs and priorities. Some of these ancient structures contained over 100 rooms, each packed with supplies meant for the afterlife. This practice contrasts sharply with modern burial customs, where we don't typically stockpile provisions, even though it's easier to produce pottery nowadays. Therefore, from the perspective of ancient times, this ritual appears quite costly. The only comparison we can draw with modern practices is hoarding, similar to what you might see in a survival bunker, prepared for war or a doomsday scenario. Consequently, these massive stockpiles of afterlife provisions don't strike me as purely spiritual. They seem rather practical, carrying a distinct scent that's hard to ignore, a smell that everyone knows: fear. The concept of an eternal afterlife is daunting, and it's evident that the ancient Egyptians were deeply concerned about running out of supplies in the underworld. This fear likely drove them to accumulate such vast quantities of provisions, reflecting their anxieties about the unknown journey beyond death. Examining this fear of scarcity is crucial because it sheds light on the limitations of ancient Egyptian spiritual beliefs and the superstitions that accompanied them. If spiritual magic could solve all their problems, there would be no need for vast quantities of vessels to sustain them after death. A single cup that refills endlessly, or a few jars with different flavored drinks, would have sufficed. However, the excessive accumulation of provisions indicates a delicate balance between superstition and reality. It underscores the importance of quantity in ensuring a smooth transition to the afterlife, highlighting the deep-seated belief that sustenance from the world of the living is essential after death. For the rulers of ancient Egypt, grappling with this belief must have presented a significant paradox of their time. Throughout their civilization's history, they would have observed an unyielding pattern, which only became more pronounced as burial practices grew more grandiose. This pattern would have served as a constant reminder of the intricate relationship between their spiritual beliefs and the practicalities of life and death. Regardless of a pharaoh's power, popularity, conquests, or achievements during their reign, once they passed away, the next successor in line would become the primary focus for everyone. While a recently deceased pharaoh would receive ample care and offerings from those who knew and worshipped them, this attention would gradually fade over time. It's natural to expect that the rewards for worshipping a living king would outweigh those for worshipping a deceased one. As time passed, the level of attention and protection given to older burials diminished, leaving them vulnerable to plundering by individuals who no longer remembered or respected the greatness of the deceased. In an effort to combat this neglect, early dynastic Egyptians fortified their mastabas with material barriers and filled them with offerings. However, no matter how formidable these structures were, they couldn't prevent intrusions if they were left unattended by the living. This highlights the challenge of preserving the sanctity of ancient burials amidst the passage of time and changing priorities. Witnessing this recurring pattern would undoubtedly trouble any pharaoh who desired a lavish afterlife, consuming their thoughts entirely. However, many kingdoms were concerned about the construction, and this was what led ancient Egypt to turn her attention to the city of limestone. The beginnings of the Pyramid era. It was this very concern that drove King Djoser of the Third Dynasty to embark on the construction of a monumental burial complex made of stone. Djoser wisely chose the revered site of Saqqara for his eternal resting place and initiated the construction of a fortified enclosure to safeguard his legacy. Here, he commissioned the creation of the first-ever pyramid, a structure that underwent no less than 6 iterations, showcasing a rapidly evolving concept of what a necropolis could entail. This sprawling city of limestone, dedicated to the deceased, likely stood as the most magnificent spectacle of its time. Undoubtedly, Djoser took great pride in the attention it garnered, continuously expanding and enhancing its grandeur. It is probable that Djoser's final resting place lies within the numerous shafts and chambers surrounding his pyramid, perpetuating his legacy as one of ancient Egypt's most ambitious and visionary rulers. However, it would be a mistake to assume that this oversized granite box was indeed his final resting place, a mistake often made by historians who project their own assumptions onto the past. The complex built by Djoser was truly unique and would never be replicated by any other pharaoh. However, the concept of a pyramid became a lasting symbol of reverence and attention. But what greater secrets were these lofty pyramids used in hiding? Decoding the sacred secrets of ancient Egyptian pyramids. The next pharaoh to successfully complete a pyramid was Sneferu, the first king of the Fourth Dynasty. He embarked on the construction of 3 massive pyramids, all of which contained chambers that could have been intended for burial purposes. The internal layout of Sneferu's pyramids was characterized by lower chambers that were easily accessible, alongside a single upper chamber that was heavily fortified. Each pyramid sought to strike a balance between allowing entry for visitors while maintaining a sense of privacy and sanctity in certain areas. This architectural design reflects the pharaoh's desire to create a space that could be both admired by the public and revered as a sacred burial site. One remarkable example of this trend is the Bent Pyramid, which takes a different approach by adding a tunnel to its upper chamber later on and leaving a portcullis open for easier access. This departure from the traditional sealed upper chamber demonstrates a shift in burial practices towards accessibility. Following Sneferu, Khufu undertakes the construction of the Great Pyramid, introducing an innovative portcullis system that allows for a secure burial chamber that can also be opened for offerings to be brought directly to him. This pyramid is particularly notable for being the earliest one to feature a sarcophagus, suggesting that it could have been the first to house the body of a pharaoh. As the son of Sneferu, Khufu would have been keenly aware of the patterns observed in the construction of his father's numerous pyramids. He would have noticed that despite the restrictions or sanctity surrounding these structures, people in Egypt with wealth or influence would often attempt to gain access to them. While impressive temples and statues undoubtedly inspired awe, the allure of exploring the mysteries within the pyramids was equally compelling. The pyramids were unlike anything else in ancient Egypt. They possessed an aura of divinity that drew people to them like a magnet, captivating the imagination of all who beheld their grandeur. Despite the privilege required for entry, those less fortunate would endeavor to gain access by offering whatever they could. This pattern is not mere speculation. It is a recurring theme throughout history. Even today, the pyramids remain the main attraction for tourists visiting Egypt, generating a significant portion of the country's tourism revenue. Recognizing the enduring allure of the pyramids, Khufu was inspired to construct an even greater monument, surpassing all that came before. For Khufu, the Great Pyramid represented not just a testament to his power and wealth, but also a means to secure a prosperous afterlife. By ensuring a continuous stream of offerings, he believed he could guarantee eternal prosperity beyond the realm of the living. Despite objections from skeptics, who argue against the necessity of offerings within the burial chamber, Khufu remained steadfast in his belief in the pyramid's divine power to secure his legacy. Critics may argue that the Egyptians utilized false doors, believing these spiritual gateways could transport the pharaoh to his offerings whenever needed. While this perspective aligns with the beliefs of priests, it overlooks the mindset of a pharaoh, which often differed. Interestingly, modern times have uncovered even more stunning revelations about the pyramid. Beyond the false doors. In modern times, we can observe how the wealthiest individuals spare no expense in their pursuit of extravagance. Human desires seemingly know no bounds, and just because a false door could serve its purpose doesn't necessarily mean it would satisfy the ambitions of a pharaoh. Exploring the significance of false doors in pyramids, we find that the 3 pyramids succeeding the Great Pyramid all feature false doors carved directly in front of their doors. These false doors stand out as the sole decorations adorning 4th and most 5th dynasty pyramids, indicating their immense importance in ancient Egyptian beliefs and rituals. Similar to the vast quantities of jars discovered within mastabas, there were limitations on how effective the ancient Egyptians believed false doors could be. Why else would Menkaure include a staggering 30 false doors in his entrance, completely covering his casket? If magic could effortlessly solve any problem, such severance wouldn't be necessary. Whether it is stacks of jars or a procession of false doors, the pharaohs of Egypt aimed to ensure easy access to provisions for the afterlife. In this context, it's understandable why having a fully accessible burial chamber would be considered the ultimate achievement. The constraints imposed by false doors and stored provisions become irrelevant when room service is now readily available. Here's how Zahi Hawass describes his interpretation of Pharaoh Djoser's preparations for the afterlife. The king had to journey through these tunnels, armed with knives, to defeat wild creatures before reaching Osiris. However, I'll offer my own speculation that the wealthiest and most privileged individuals in ancient Egypt didn't anticipate battling wild beasts in their eternal afterlife. It's unclear what influenced Hawass's beliefs, but the physical evidence found within pyramids suggests that comfort and companionship were the primary goals for the deceased. Instead of discovering piles of knives and spears in Egyptian burials, archaeologists often unearth furniture and vessels for food and drink, indicating a focus on luxury and sustenance rather than combat. The presence of elaborate beds, couches, and tables within burial chambers suggests a desire for relaxation and enjoyment in the afterlife. Additionally, intricate paintings and inscriptions found in tombs depict scenes of feasting, music, and companionship, reinforcing the idea that the ancient Egyptians envisioned an afterlife filled with pleasant experiences rather than trials and battles. This emphasis on comfort and companionship aligns with their beliefs in an eternal paradise, where the deceased could continue to enjoy the pleasures of life. As Reg Clark mentioned earlier, Old Kingdom mastabas shifted from being storage places to sites where offerings were presented. It's only logical to assess pyramids in the same light, but if you view the Great Pyramid merely as a giant and poorly designed hiding spot for a body, it's understandable to feel puzzled. The funny thing about a pyramid is, it both hides the royal burial inside and proudly showcases it right here. Despite all subsequent Old Kingdom pyramids aiming for the same goal of creating a perpetual space for worship and offerings, the Great Pyramid outshone them all. Just like many groundbreaking ideas, the initial version serves as a proof of concept. When a design proves successful, subsequent iterations tend to become more streamlined and efficient, reflecting advancements in architectural knowledge and construction techniques. In the case of the pyramids, this evolutionary process is evident in the transition from the complex structures of earlier pyramids to the more simplified designs of later ones. One notable feature that persisted from the design of the Great Pyramid until the end of the Old Kingdom is the triple portcullis. This innovative architectural element served to protect the burial chamber of the pharaoh, demonstrating the ancient Egyptians' dedication to ensuring the safety and security of their rulers even in the afterlife. Contrary to common perception, the Great Pyramid stands out as an anomaly among its counterparts. While it is hailed as the quintessential pyramid in popular imagination, its design and construction deviate significantly from typical pyramid architecture. Its immense size and unique features make it a marvel of ancient engineering, captivating the imaginations of historians and archaeologists alike. Moreover, an assessment was made by an Egyptologist on the Great Pyramid, and his findings were expectedly very startling. Understanding the Great Pyramid's impact on ancient Egypt. Egyptologist Mark Lehner's assessment of the Great Pyramid overlooks its profound significance in ancient Egyptian culture. To the ancient Egyptians, the Great Pyramid would have represented not only a monumental achievement in architecture, but also a symbol of royal power and divine authority. Being the first pyramid to introduce an accessible burial chamber and holding the title of the largest pyramid ever built, the Great Pyramid of Giza holds a special place in history. Its construction marked a watershed moment in architectural innovation and engineering prowess. However, achieving such monumental greatness also brought about unforeseen challenges and complexities that continue to intrigue researchers to this day. What sets Khufu apart from others is that even after his passing, the Great Pyramid remained the main attraction. This achievement had a profound psychological impact that resonated for millennia. It's even reflected today in the steep ticket prices for entering a pyramid. Before the Great Pyramid, a reigning pharaoh could always expect to be the center of attention, regardless of the achievements of those who came before. However, as generations passed, one can't help but wonder how subsequent pharaohs felt about living in the shadow of such greatness. Perhaps some resented the Great Pyramid as a monument that diverted attention away from their own divine status. This might explain some unusual events that affected Khufu's reputation. It's possible that the flattening of the Great Pyramid's summit was an attempt to diminish its significance. It could also be why later accounts of Khufu by Herodotus are mostly negative, suggesting that stories were invented to tarnish his image. Additionally, the discovery of a stolen relief of Khufu inside Pharaoh Unus's burial chamber and the absence of surviving statues of Khufu, apart from a miniature carving saved by Flinders Petrie, add to the mystery. Egyptologist John Romer believes these occurrences are merely coincidental. He questions why only this miniature carving remains of Khufu, suggesting that it's all a matter of chance. In ancient Egypt, what survives is essentially left to fate. When you have one king, you get 100 statues, but when you have the guy who builds the Great Pyramid, things get a bit more complicated. But it is obvious that by attracting so much attention to him, Khufu unintentionally invited challenges from later pharaohs eager to outdo him. This complexity likely added layers to his legacy. Another intriguing question is how the tradition of bringing offerings directly to a pyramid's burial chamber evolved over time. Managing the opening and closing of a portcullis isn't easy, so compromises may have been necessary to avoid the need for full entry into the pyramid. This might explain the vestibules, which first appeared in Menkaur's pyramid. These small rooms at the bottom of the entrance passage allowed offerings to be made without needing to pass through the portcullis and enter the burial chamber. Starting from Menkaur's pyramid, there are also small storage rooms deeper inside the pyramid. These could have been used to store more permanent belongings, which could be attended to less frequently. This, of course, raises the intriguing question: where were Khufu's personal belongings and treasures stored within the vast expanse of the Great Pyramid? Interestingly, the design of the portcullis in the Great Pyramid was remarkably advanced for its time, allowing for greater flexibility and ease of movement compared to other pyramids of the era. This architectural innovation prompts speculation that Khufu may have believed he wouldn't require permanent storage of his possessions within the pyramid. Some historians even suggest that Khufu might have embodied the ideals of a philosopher king, prioritizing spiritual nourishment and companionship over material wealth in the afterlife. After all, what good are riches if one faces solitude and hunger in the underworld? While much of these interpretations remain speculative, there are avenues for objectively evaluating the ancient Egyptians' beliefs regarding the eternal accessibility of their pyramids. Interestingly, the era of pyramid construction eventually came to a close with the end of the Old Kingdom, marked by the death of Pharaoh Pepi II. This pivotal moment in Egyptian history ushered in a period of significant upheaval and instability. With the collapse of the centralized government, Egypt descended into a protracted period of civil strife and chaos that endured for at least a century. This tumultuous era, known as the First Intermediate Period, saw the fragmentation of authority, regional autonomy, and a decline in royal power. Besides, there was a period when Egypt's pyramids were dumped, and these were a period like no other in Egyptian history. How Pepi II's pyramid defied turmoil and time. During the turbulent period known as the First Intermediate Period, which followed the Old Kingdom's collapse, many of Egypt's pyramids were left abandoned. However, owing to his status as the last pharaoh to rule over a unified Egypt, Pepi II's pyramid complex likely retained some semblance of centralized protection for a longer duration compared to his predecessors. The cult devoted to Pepi II, keen on preserving his legacy amidst the encroaching chaos, took decisive action to safeguard his pyramid. Recognizing the threat of abandonment looming over other pyramids, they undertook significant measures to ensure its permanent closure. In a bold move, the cult dismantled the chapel situated around the north entrance of the pyramid. Subsequently, they erected a formidable barrier composed of massive stone blocks encircling the entire pyramid. These stones, measuring at least 6.5 meters in width and spanning a minimum of 2 layers, were meticulously laid against the pyramid's casing stones. This strategic sealing off of the pyramid was not only intended to protect the revered pharaoh's resting place, but also to deter potential intruders and safeguard the sanctity of the site amidst the prevailing chaos of the First Intermediate Period. The belt of stones around the pyramid not only concealed the entrance, but also provided unparalleled security compared to other pyramids. Even the enclosure walls had to be adjusted to accommodate this protective barrier. Egyptologist Gustave Jacquier speculated that the belt of stone was intended to prevent the pyramid from collapsing. However, there's no concrete evidence to support this theory, and it's unclear how such a structure could stabilize the pyramid. Regarding the destroyed chapel at the pyramid's entrance, Jacquier suggests that a new chapel may have been built in its place. However, he admits to finding no traces of such a structure. In my opinion, the absence of a new entrance chapel indicates a significant shift from accessible pyramids to permanently closed ones. This modification represents a crucial change in pyramid construction and usage. The final move in sealing Pepi II's pyramid serves as a poignant example of the meticulous steps ancient Egyptians took to ensure the permanence of royal burials. This intricate process involved not only physical alterations, but also symbolic gestures, underscoring the profound significance they attributed to the afterlife. Before Pepi II's time, the pyramids seemed designed to accommodate ongoing access, echoing the ambitious aspirations set forth by Khufu. However, as the sands of time shifted and societal priorities evolved, the necessity for perpetual visitation waned, leading to a transformation in burial practices. While historians debate the frequency of visits to pyramids by worshippers, the physical evidence suggests that these monuments were integral to religious rituals and communal reverence. Whether Egyptians entered these sacred spaces daily, on specific occasions, or at intervals spanning generations, their interaction with the pyramids left lasting impressions on the landscape and in the annals of history. Moreover, the pyramids represent a testament to each kingdom. Contrary to notions of failure, each pyramid, from the pioneering efforts of Sneferu to the culmination of the Old Kingdom, represents a testament to human ingenuity and architectural prowess. Despite enduring challenges and structural anomalies, these monumental structures stand as enduring symbols of Egypt's ancient civilization, captivating the imagination of scholars and tourists alike. Furthermore, the sealing of pyramids was not merely a physical act but also a spiritual one, symbolizing the transition of the deceased pharaoh into the realm of eternity. This act of closure marked the culmination of a ruler's earthly journey and the beginning of their eternal reign in the afterlife, immortalized within the stone confines of their monumental tombs. As the Old Kingdom era concluded, the monumental pyramid building phase also drew to a close, signaling a shift in burial practices and royal traditions. While the grand pyramids of the early dynasties had served as iconic symbols of pharaonic power and eternity, the decline of centralized authority and the onset of civil unrest during the First Intermediate Period prompted a re-evaluation of burial customs. During this tumultuous period, the stability of the pharaoh's rule waned, leading to uncertainty regarding the security of royal tombs. As a result, it's plausible that later pharaohs sought alternative burial sites that were more discreet and less susceptible to looting. This hypothesis aligns with archaeological findings that indicate a decline in the construction of grand pyramids and a shift towards smaller, less conspicuous tombs, such as rock-cut mastabas and hidden chambers. Moreover, the scarcity of mummy fragments within the pyramids has puzzled historians and Egyptologists for centuries. While some pharaohs, such as Tutankhamun, were buried within pyramids, the majority of royal mummies discovered in modern times were found in hidden tombs located in the Valley of the Kings and other remote areas of Egypt. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, famously remarked that the Giza pyramids were not the true burial places of the pharaohs, suggesting that they were instead monuments dedicated to their memory. This assertion has sparked debates among scholars, with some proposing alternative theories about the purpose and function of the pyramids, including astronomical observatories or symbols of divine ascent. The possibility that ancient Egyptians deliberately concealed the true location of royal burials adds another layer of intrigue to the study of Egyptian funerary practices. It challenges conventional assumptions about the role of pyramids and prompts researchers to explore alternative explanations for the enigmatic absence of mummies and royal relics within these monumental structures. Do you agree that the great preferred useful hints? Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. And if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.